Hey guys, how you doing? Today I'm going to walk you through setting up your company pension plan. Okay, a pension plan is separate from a 401k plan. All right, so the pension plan, let's say if your company is using Fidelity. So for this example, we're going to go with Fidelity. That's a company that I'm currently with, is using Fidelity as the provider. If you already have an account with Fidelity, all you gotta do is sign in, put your username and password, and your information for your new employer will show up on the heading. If you do not have an account already with Fidelity, all right, wait until you receive an email from your employer telling you that your account is ready to set up. Once you receive an email, you can come over here on Need Help and you could register now. Once you click on Register Now, all you'll have to do is put your information, name, birthday, social security number, and etc. Right? Once you have that information on there, you'll go ahead and finish registering, and that's going to take you to the home screen. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in and take you through the rest of the steps. So now that we are signed in, it'll take us over here to your portal for your new employer. If you already have Fidelity with previous employers, you might have to go over here to the main menu, and on the right hand side, select the employer that you are currently with, as far as for being able to make your adjustments. So once you've already selected your employer, you're going to look at the options that you have here for your retirement plan. You're going to click on view details. It's going to give you options to pick from. With my current employer, we have a 401k and we also have a pension as well. My 401k, we just finished setting it up in a different video. Now we're going to go ahead and set up the pension. So we'll click on enroll. Now here, we're just going to have two steps. We're just going to choose the investments, and then we're going to consolidate retirement savings. Click on begin. All right, next you're going to go ahead and you're going to select the best option here is choose your own investments. I would always stay away from target date funds. Stay away from having somebody else to manage it to you, because the reality is these two options are easier to set up, but they're going to give you a lower return than this one right here. And this one is not that much of a work to set it up. It only takes a couple clicks to set this up, and then after that, all you have to do is just deposit funds, and that's it. And you're always going to get a higher return from a good selected fund of your own versus going for any of these two options. So always select your own investments. All right, so here we're going to see the options here that we have. We have S&P 500, Fidelity Contra Fund K6, and all these options that you see here are just typical options that you have available from employers that choose to use Fidelity as their portal for it. Okay, one thing that I always tell everybody to look for is that here we have different columns. We have year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5, and year 10. Okay, the AR here is average annual returns. That's what AR is. I always tell everybody to look at the average annual return for 10 years, because the best way to compare these funds to each other is by looking at the 10-year average of those funds. So when you look here at the stock options, we see that out of the stocks options, the one that there's a couple that have been around for 10 years is one that's based off S&P 500, which is Fidelity 500 index. They have a 10-year average of 16.2. All right, we have this other one that's here available that has a 10-year average of 13.56, this one of 15.39, and etc. So far out of these stock options, the one with the best 10-year return is currently the one that's based off the S&P 500. I always tell everybody, I was like, this, out of any and all investments, one of the best investments and most secure investments you could possibly go for that'll give you a great return with very little expenses is any investment that is based off the S&P 500. So whenever you're setting up your investment, I usually tell them, I was like, go look for anything that is based off the S&P 500. Highly recommend it. All right, when you want to look down here, these are your age-based fund. So look at the age-based fund here, example that has a 10-year average, and this is what I'm talking about. The average 10-year for this age base that started back in 1986, the average 10-year is 12.39, okay, with a lifetime average return of 9.98. All right, so keep in mind 1986. Look over here at the S&P 500. This one started in 1988 with a 10-year average of 16.2, which is already greater than by almost 4% than this one. And then the average life since this fund started in 1988, the average has been 11.16, which again beats out this one over here that only has 9.98, which started around the same time period. So this is why I say always stay away from these age-based funds. Anything else that's around here too, look at them, compare them. Short-term investments, not good. Bond investments, not good. Just S&P 500 all the way. So when it comes to selecting your amount, okay, it says here, make sure that your entries come out to be 100. And I'll just go ahead and make this at 100. All right, for S&P 500 all the way. If there's another one that I happen to like for whatever reason, I could easily do 50% on one and 50% on the other. But since right now the S&P 500 is the clear winner, I'm just going to go at 100% of that. Just to show you a little bit more information about what you are investing in and why I'm going to go 100% on this one, I can click on the fund. And then for here, some information, about it. So again, this is the Fidelity 500 index, which pretty much replicates the S&P 500. As you see here, here's the Fidelity index and the S&P 500. So here, this is just showing you basically what $10,000 invested 10 years ago, what would it be right now? And $10,000 invested 10 years ago would be, bring the numbers on over, with the Fidelity, $10,000 10 years ago would be right now $4,891. With the S&P 500, it would be $4,993. Okay, so the Fidelity one is replicating the average S&P 500 very closely. This one, again, as we mentioned earlier, it's based off large blend. It was started off in 1988. The expense ratio, another reason why the S&P 500 is a clear winner with the Fidelity, it's that it's only a 0.015%. Okay, that means for every $1,000 invested, you will only be paying 15 cents of an expense ratio for your portfolio to be managed. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you compare this to other funds, other options that we had that were on here. All right, look what this other one has as far as for an expense ratio. You see right here, so this expense ratio is already now, instead of 15 cents per every dollar, this one is $4.50 per dollar. These little expense ratios might seem small, but this is going to eat away from your profits. Okay, so make sure that when you invest into something, you go for something that has a very low expense ratio, as you see on here. We'll continue scrolling down. We see that the top 10 holdings. So right now, this S&P Fidelity 500 index has 508 holdings. Okay, that is 508 different stocks that are distributed, and right here, these are your top 10 holdings out of the 508. So the top 10 companies is Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, right? See these alphabets, this is the parent company of Google. So basically when you're investing in Google, you're investing into these right here. Tesla, Nvidia, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan. So these are your top 10 companies that are being invested on the S&P 500. So you can feel comfortable knowing that as long as these companies and the other total 508 are performing, as long as they are all profitable, you will continue making profits on your investments. Your investments will continue to grow in a very good manner. All right. Another very good thing about the S&P 500 is that we'll come over here on performance and risk and scroll down to the bottom, because I want to show you one of the biggest benefits of the S&P 500, and it's this right here. It's dividends. So for every share that you own, you will be receiving a dividend of, for example, for 2021 of $1.436 for every share. So the more shares that you own, the more that you invest into this particular fund, the more shares you own, the more dividends you'll be receiving. And this is free money. This is bonus money. This is just like, hey, thank you for investing in us. Here's a show of gratitude. Here's some money, because we as companies, we are profitable. We are going to go ahead and put this extra money into your account for investing in us. All right. So that is one of the biggest things that you see on here. Again, I'll compare it to another one that we were looking at, this K6. The K6 already had that high expense ratio, but let's look at the K6. Let's look at see what their dividend is. So as you can see here, the dividend for the K6 fund for 2021 is only 1 cent, 1 penny. That is nothing. Look at, again, compared to $1.43.6 compared to 1 penny on the K fund. So again, the S&P 500 here just beats that K fund on expense ratio and on dividend. And when it comes to the performance, it does very well here at the S&P 500. So again, just based off the 10-year average, we just compared all these numbers and everything else, and that's just the one that we're gonna go for. That's just the best option that we have. Okay, so now that we have our 100% selected for the S&P 500, and you clearly see why we would go for the S&P 500 here, as you click on next, it says that you can click on this to check out the prospects. Go ahead and click on it, and basically this is just information that we just covered, that we spoke about, the expenses, the management fee, and etc. So it just goes on here. Just go ahead, when you get a chance, by all means, click on it, review it, and so that way you fully understand what you are investing in. So we'll go ahead, we've already viewed it, and we'll go ahead and click on continue. And right now we are fully invested into this. 100% is going to go towards our S&P 500. Click submit, and here's a confirmation code. I am now enrolled in the pension fund for the company that I'm with. All right, so on here, I don't know if you noticed or not, but when we are working on the retirement, this particular pension fund did not give me the option to do Roth or traditional for the pension. That means if you ever enroll into something, if it doesn't give you the option to select Roth or traditional, that means the particular pension is going to invest all your funds into a traditional account. So when you are going to retire, you're going to have to pay taxes on the money that you end up pulling out from it. Now that we're here at the end, you see that we'll have the option to roll money over. So if you have any money from another company that you were previously working with, whether they were using Fidelity or another company like Charles Schwab, T. Rowe Price, or whoever else, you have the option to roll the money over. Some people will want to roll, the first thought is to roll the money over into the current 401k, but I would say do not. I would say roll any money from any previous employer always into an IRA. An IRA is always going to give you more flexibility, is always going to give you more options to pick from for investing your money, where you could potentially get better returns than what the S&P 500 is giving you. So just keep that in mind. The S&P 500 is a solid investment, but if you wanted the flexibility, the option to potentially invest into other things, I would always say go for IRA. So anytime you're rolling any money over, always put it into an IRA. Don't roll it into your current employer's 401k. Always IRA. All right, so hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If you enjoyed it, please give a thumbs up to the video. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments below. I'll continue putting out information about finances, helping you all out on your journeys when it comes to retirement. Just go ahead and please subscribe to the channel, so that way you could always see all the new information that we're putting out. All right, thank you very much. Take care.